And we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to A Bookish Moment. I'm Sarah Burr.
And I am J.C. Kenney. It's Baby Friday afternoon. We've got a wonderful guest coming back to hang with us. So, Sarah, I think it's time to get bookish.
Yes, and thank you for the reminder that it's almost Friday. I don't know why I thought it
Yes.
was Tuesday. So that just made even today's conversation even more exciting because, as JC said, we are joined by a wonderful author, creator, publisher returning to our show. It's been almost exactly a year since Elizabeth Mitchell was here joining us talking about her writing. We've got a lot more to dive into today. We are so excited, Elizabeth, for you to be back here to talk about your anthologies, to talk about your novellas, to talk about this publishing house that you've started. It's We've got so much to cover, so I won't spend any more
Yeah.
time talking. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, there is usually a lot to cover when I'm around, isn't there?
That's
There
that is
is.
not a bad thing to have.
Oh, my background spontaneously changed.
Oh,
You
How
know
fun
we
is
that
have
that
this?
that how did that I can't even talk that's freaking me out so much. It's almost like you must have had an anthology that came out in June that maybe has something to do with claw machines or something.
You'd think I did this on purpose. I didn't, but here we are.
Yeah. Nice.
So
well,
hi, I'm
that's
Elizabeth. This is the anthology I worked on. So that's
So
yeah, that's a
yeah,
thing.
that's a thing. So why don't you, for folks who may not remember, and folks, if you don't, shame on you because Elizabeth is unforgettable. But for those who may not recall our conversation last time or have not met you before, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what brought you to becoming kind of the queen of your little publishing empire?
Well, wow. That's very lovely. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I am an author, a publisher, an editor, a multidisciplinary artist. I started as an artist a long time ago. I'm getting really back in touch with my roots and just finished a collection that I'm trying to get into a gallery. I
Nice.
kind of
Oh, wow.
I like to do all the things. I don't like to stay in a box. A lot of my work is that a lot of my fiction is dark themed, anywhere from just psychological to actual horror. My novella is my second magical realism book, but this one is deeply rooted in um, disability as the conduit. Um, the publishing aspect is also fairly new. The first time that started was in June, and the editing started, I guess, late last year. So that's kind of the overall who am I?
You are like the fact that you've accomplished so much in just the time since we have last seen you is really
Yeah.
really exciting. I was
Yeah.
poking around Little Key Press, your publishing website, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like when did this happen? So we're excited to be able to talk about that process. But first, I do want to say hello to our wonderful viewers who are joining us live in the chat. We have Farmhouse Reader saying hi all. We have Anxious Squirrel, love that name, saying hello. DHB saying happy Thursday. So thank you guys for being here with us live. Where should we start, Elizabeth? What would you like to focus on first? Because when you were last here last year, ooh, that was a mouthful. We were talking about Jane's and kind of the world that you've created, where each novel gives you different insight to the people living in this town. But now that you're branching out into these anthologies, you've got your art that you're working on. What brings you joy these days when it comes to writing? What draws you in and helps you create?
Well, it's funny because so many of my stories are actually still in Jane's.
Hmm.
So in Claw Machine, the story that I have actually is a continuation of the Jane series. Um, and it's actually my first kind of announcement that there is magic. in Jane's. Not in the traditional wand waving, but magic exists. And this new series that comes out starting in January, um, that takes place in the fictionalized Oregon that I have
Hmm.
created. So, a lot of different cities are replaced by cities I have created. And so I'm still like deeply rooted in this little made up space, and pretty much just living in my own little world has brought me
Hmm.
a lot of joy. Um, but the exploration into magical realism, um, it's my heart soars every time I sit down at the computer in a way that it hasn't in a really long time. Um, I wasn't sure exactly how this last book was going to go. I mentioned it last time that I was kind of working on something, um, but it's ended up going from I don't know to I for sure am 100% that this is a thing to now this is also another standalone anthology. Um, each person is going to have a different disability or disabilities, and it's about them just moving through the world. And as they experience a symptom or a flare, all of that presents in a magical way. Because I've noticed that there are some analogies that I use for my experiences that they don't make sense to other people, which makes sense. All analogies won't. But if you show it in an extremely visual way, it's a lot easier for people to go, oh, that's what you mean. And so it's easier to connect disability in a way that's like in some of these situations, like my character Joyce, which is the name of the current book, she has chronic fatigue syndrome. And it's really hard because the word fatigue, everyone uses that word in a very different way, right? Some people use the word fatigue in just, I'm exhausted. But that's not exactly what fatigue is in this sense. So, in order to showcase fatigue, I had to get very creative and describe skin as essentially like a blanket draped over bones. And she's like, got little soldiers coming out of the weaves of her fabric at one point, to explain different symptoms. So there's a lot of exploration that's happened, and I think that's what draws me to my own personal creation. The anthologies just kind of happened. Um, I was telling you right before, but I this all started with my sister telling me this interesting idea for a film that she wanted me to write, that had to do with a claw machine. It was a horror thing. I don't write films right now, and so it's been a while since I've written them. And I was like, well, no, I'm not going to write that, but I'll think about it for a short story or something. And then just the image of a claw machine just kept nagging at me. And I was like, maybe I'll write a collection. I don't know. And I told one of my friends, and she was like, oh my God, I have an idea. And I was like, does that mean you want to like co-write a thing? And she's like, no, I just have one idea. And I was like, okay. And she's like, I don't know. What do you want to do with that information, basically? And I was just like, okay, maybe I'll do an anthology. And I just said it like off the cuff. We're sitting here drinking tea, like relaxing. And then the next person I talked to, I was like, you guys write speculative stuff too. So does this interest you? And that's how quickly it happened. Is
Wow.
just I told one other person, and suddenly I actually had like a couple people email me, and they were like, I heard about Claw Machine. And I was like, okay, I guess it has a name, and it's just Claw Machine because that's what everyone's calling it. It's already been capitalized. I didn't name this, but okay. And then it just kind of spun out, and it was so much fun that I'm subbing for another one right now. It has another month open, and it's clocks because now I'm just doing objects
Oh.
because I love what happens when you give a writer an object and like this few parameters and just say go. It's so fun, and I really enjoyed reading all the stories.
So yeah, so I guess kind of if you could maybe for Jim, slow down. Okay, now let's try that again. So for Claw Machine, this came out in June. Um, can you tell us, so as far as like how you structured this particular anthology, is it that you basically told all of your participants, okay, you got to have a claw machine in it, or what kind of, how do you, as someone who is editing an anthology, kind of set the rules for the game, as it were?
That was a cute pun. I liked that.
Oh, well,
Um,
thank you.
um, so I basically said it needs to be a feature. Um, Whatever that looks like to you. Because we actually have there's a being inside of a claw machine. There are things that talk that are in the claw machine. Someone has a spiritual awakening that involves that. I mean, we've got people that just go and play it for magic's sake. Um, and I knew that if I said, I need you to have a claw machine in, it needs to be, and then I give them tons and tons of parameters, it would be a lot of the same story. And the people that I picked, which is why I wasn't sure if I was going to do open submissions ever. But I had so many people after this anthology come up to me and they were like, "Oh, I wish I had known. I had all these ideas." And I was like, "Well, we'll do it again then." But they all told me at different times that because they knew that everyone else was so interesting, they didn't want to write the expected. And so they spent, like, I gave them like a 6 month lead time to give me like 3 to 5,000 words. Because I know some people literally write it the day before, and some people write it the day you tell them to, and they just wait until the day before to edit it. So I was like, just do whatever you need to do for your creative process. And most of them said they waited until pretty close to the end because they would start something and they're like, no, I think somebody else might come up with this. Or, oh, I think I've read something close to this, just not with a claw machine. And then they would email me and they would say, hey, has anyone else mentioned this idea? Because I don't want it to be too similar to anyone else. And I'm like, well, there was only one time where I said, actually, this is happening in a different one, but I think your slant is different. I just want you to know for sure because you asked. But I was surprised. I mean, it created its own arc, which was kind of remarkable. The other anthology that I'm releasing in October, wow, it's a month from now, is when it comes out. It's similar to that where it's almost like the stories just they had such different moods that they created like a story arc as individual stories coming
Oh,
together.
interesting.
And I think that's my favorite part about being an editor for the anthology, honestly, is creating the shape, is being like, what do I want the reader to open on? Like the first sentence. And how do I want the story, like, how do I want the book to end? Because it's not like a traditional book where you can be like, okay, this is how I want the, like, you can't do that. Now you have like a finite amount of stories. So it's like you have to set the tone and you have to, and that tone has to be somewhat indicative of everything. But there are going to be some stories that are lighter or darker or funnier. So you can't do everything. So it was a lot of fun going, okay, well this story definitely has to start it because it I feel like it had like the breadth of like the emotions, and this one's like got a strong finish. Okay, now what about the other 16? Ugh.
Now,
So yeah.
when you're deciding that, because like I am trying to think of the anthologies that I've read in the past, and you know that opening story that draws you in. I mean, how do you figure out where things go? Is it all just like going with your gut, or is there sometimes just uh, is it you know the themes that you're kind of grouping together and then some like transition easier into others, but like what's the magic that you do to figure like how to weave it all?
Actually, both. Yeah, so definitely my gut starts The anthology ends starts and ends with my gut. Um, at the end of reading all of them, the one that went ooh, the most, the two that like hit me like a ton of bricks, those were the bookends.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt like if you got the kapow at the beginning, then as you went through, you could get like waves of kapow. And then you end with this big, like, thunderous punch where you're left going, oh shit. And so I knew this. And beyond that, there were definitely like connectors of themes. And that was like important because there were like two that were based in schools. And so I was like, I would love to have the school ones beside each other. So it was kind of like I tried to make us as readers go through emotions but also move through the actual physical world so that we were in similar locations moving like when we left the school here and we went to the school here, then we could leave and go to like an arcade, and then after the arcade we could go to a bowling alley, and from the bowling alley we could then go to the wider world. So I tried to like I laid it out in like six different ways first to see like, okay, if we just did location, if we just did emotion, if we just did trying to make sure that I was like, I didn't have too many masculine voices and too many feminine voices. I got really in my head, seriously. Like I was like, how can I do this? And then finally I was like, okay, what if we just mushed all this together and like played with it? I tinkered with it for a lot of hours. But when I finally got it together, I read the whole thing from start to finish again. One was out of place. Like it felt strange where I was like, "Oh, this got dark quickly." And so I knew that I needed to move it, but otherwise it just felt kind of like an ebb and flow, like a push and pull of like feelings and content, and I was like, "Okay, cool." So it's kind of a combo.
I love that waves of kapow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's gonna be
That
something that
needs to go on a shirt.
yeah, I need to like insert that into my daily life going forward.
Well, it's
So,
certainly how I've started looking at my own books now. I'm like, did we have enough kapow this chapter? Because
Mm-hmm.
if I want this from my like anthologies, I want this from my books.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, and that, leads to a question that I've got. You have told us that, putting together the anthologies, editing them, reviewing them, putting them together, that takes a lot of your time. How do you find the time to then write your own novels, your own short stories? How do you budget your time when you've got all these irons in the fire?
Well, I don't sleep and there are six of me. Um, no,
Okay.
no, I actually like I compartmentalize days or weeks. Um, I'll say like, okay, this week, um, in the afternoons, I'm gonna spend editing. I try very hard in the morning to make my mornings sacred. I don't do morning pages. I don't say in the morning I'm gonna write 500 words, but I try in the morning to focus on creativity. I do not like to open up my laptop and look at a spreadsheet in the morning. I want to have a tea and I want to put some words down, put some thoughts, paint, do something very interesting. And so if I do that, then I usually can give myself my own creativity time. Like I budget it in before my day starts. And then I can go, what's next? Is it time to edit my own work? Is it time to, create something for someone else? Is it time to work on the anthology? And then, now like I'm actively working on three anthologies and my own projects, but they're all in various states of like doneness. One is, weeks away from being complete, one is months away, and one is just getting started. And then my own work is in various states as well. So it's like I try to kind of like I look at it in layers. Like, okay, if I need this one to be finished, I will put this one as a top priority. So I'll do it at like 11 a.m. when I have the most brain, and I'll do it for like 2 hours. And then if I have time, I'll get to the next one. And I try to like budget it like that.
I
It
like
doesn't
I
always work. Sometimes I burn out or I just skip a week, but
I'm always trying to figure out like when do I have the most brain? And it can has that rolling kapow effect of when when all cylinders are firing. Elizabeth, you've mentioned your that you do editing, not only as part of your anthology, but you also do consultation services for other authors. And I know we have a lot of other authors that are out there that watch our show. Can you tell us a little bit about what kind of services you offer, what you focus on, in case there's anybody out there that is in need of your help?
well, that's very kind. So I I'm working on the actual act of putting together the classes that I teach, but I
Oh, okay.
I do like one-on-one consults of like anything that I have a list, I think, but anything that I'm basically knowledgeable about, whether it's writing disability or, you know, how to publish a book, self-publish a book, I am willing to like sit down, have a chat, like give you all of my resources. I'm like super open for that because honestly, I think there's a lot of gatekeeping
Hmm.
in this industry, or it's there. You just have to spend 17 to 25 hours to get the information in piecemeal. And that can get very exhausting. So, that usually that's my console part. And the editing, I don't edit outside of either anthologies or short stories. Past the novella length, I don't do it, and I take it on a very specific case by case basis. I'm pretty much looking at July at this point. After July, I have openings, but I'm pretty much booked till then. But yeah, I'm always like, if somebody wants to talk to me about an anthology, I enjoy them. As for my own anthologies, I'm actually taking a full break post June, so I will have more time on my schedule for that as well. And individuals, I mean, beta reading for, disability. I have certain illnesses. Those I can be sensitivity reader for. Otherwise, I can just tell you that is not great. Seek someone that has this illness, because I can't speak for everyone, but
Hmm.
yeah.
So then, for folks who would like to avail themselves of your services, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
So on my website, it gives you my information, like my email.
Okay.
But littlekeypress@gmail.com is like the quickest way. If you there's also leaving comments on my newsletter, which those are pretty much the two best ways to get a hold of me. I'm not on social media anymore. It's a beautiful thing, but it also means it's a
Yeah.
little bit harder to just drop me a line. Is it?
Hmm.
But it doesn't mean your email has to be like, "Dear Miss Mitchell." Like that's you can just say hey and just tell me some stuff and we can go from there.
Okay.
Awesome.
Super.
And I would love to know, where did the name Little Key Press come from? I'm just always curious. I love titles in general, and so it's like when somebody decides like this is going to be my representation out in the world. Like, where do you mind sharing like the origin behind the name?
Yeah, so little comes from my two the two first boys that I got. My husband and I adopted two cats and I called them our littles. And they always loved to, like when I was reading and editing out loud, they would come and sit by me. And as soon as I would stop reading, they would go and do their own thing. It was like constant story time. So I
Oh.
thought they needed to be involved in the name of this when I got started.
Mm-hmm.
And the key, I have been obsessed with keys. Like I have hundreds and hundreds of keys. And like a huge jar of them. And I've always thought the word press sounds fancier. That's there's nothing more than just I like the word press better than publishing.
That is perfectly
Nice.
acceptable, and
Yeah.
the key. I love a good necklace that has a key on it. There's just something that to me it's like magical of like what does that key unlock? Um, And I think that the key imagery is so much fun. So that's really exciting. Oh my gosh, there so much going on. So tell us, because
Hmm.
we are running out of time. What is coming up for you, that our readers can make sure that they are pre-ordering, getting involved with? How can we help spread the word about what's coming in the pipeline for you?
Okay, so bear with me.
Hmm.
In 1 month, I have an anthology called Story Rich Art, which is a collection of short stories and these beautiful etchings um, from Steve Graziani. Example is actually right here. It's so beautiful.
Oh wow.
Ooh, wow.
So
That's cool.
yeah, this is the preview cover.
Ooh,
Nice.
nice.
That's coming in a month. In January 30th, my novella Joyce comes out. February 23rd or 24th. I'm a tired person, but it's one of those two. I have another anthology called Animal Noir, which is anthropomorphic animals in the noir, crime noir genre.
Ooh.
And it is
Take
so
my money right now.
fun.
Sold.
Truly, truly. I literally, it wasn't even just my project. Someone had to step away, and I was like, I will pick it up. There is no way this project is not being made. It's so exciting. I made little characters to go on the cover, so we've got all the actual visuals. It's gonna be a very fun project. And then in June, I'm publishing Clocks, which is the one that I'm subbing for now, which is going to basically be dark and speculative fiction, all surrounding the theme of clocks. And the best way to keep track of all of this, because that's a lot, is my newsletter,
Perfect.
which
And
is
if
just another haunted body.
ooh, that is very chilling, and I love
Yeah,
it.
perfect for
Love
this
it.
time. So, real quick, I do have one real quick question here. You mentioned the term magical realism in
Yes.
your writing. Could you kind of tell us a little bit what you mean by that?
Yes. So, it's like depictions of in this case, disability through the mundane and fantastical. Um, s- so one thing about magical realism that I love especially is just this is our world. Everything about the real world exists. Magic just also exists. And there's no questions about it. There's no magic system that we're discussing. We're not like, oh, this is a wizard. Here is how spells work. Magic is just wholly entrenched in what's happening. In the case of Joyce, it's it's something that it's almost like she just notices it. It's never happened to her before. She's never seen these things, but it's just like, oh, sure. Okay. Because she's just accepted that this is the reality. And that's kind of what all of them are, is that this is just the reality for them. They might feel a little curious about it, but it's not like shocking. There are some really great magical realism books out there that I think display this. Heather Weber, Isabel Allende, like they just show the beautiful like way that you can basically just weave magic into our regular world.
Mhm.
Um, Water for chocolate, just the concept, like there's a beautiful moment where someone's eating like food and they just are feeling the person's emotion that cooked it because the person that cooked it infused their actual feelings into the food. That kind of thing where it's very like it's clearly magic, but it's not abracadabra.
Mm.
Okay, that's
Sounds
cool.
like my kind of world.
Yeah.
Um, Really quickly, Elizabeth, we like to end our shows with getting some recommendations from our guests. Any books, movies, TV, podcasts, audiobooks, any type of entertainment that you've enjoyed recently that you'd like to share with our audience members?
Ah, that is a great question. You know, I just finished a very delightful book, and it was called The Moon Cafe, is that correct? It was so sweet. And I was really surprised because I did not expect it to be as sweet as it was. It is the Full Moon Coffee Shop. I'm glad I looked it up since I said cafe and not that. Um, it is translated from Japanese, and
Oh.
it's actually it's magical realism, and it's so delightful. I found it just wonderful. And though it is a film festival, they're already starting screening for it. So it's called the Portland Film, Cinema, and Technology Film Festival. It's local to where I am, and I can highly recommend that. But more importantly, I would just recommend looking for stop animation right now because right now
Oh,
there are some seriously talented animators in the stop animation world, and it's getting beautiful.
Ooh, that's
I'll
a
just
that
throw that one out there.
yeah, that feels like an
all right.
insider tip that you've given us. JC,
Yeah. Yeah.
any new recommendations since we last chatted on Tuesday?
Yeah, so I just finished a rewatch of the classic sci-fi Western show Firefly. I realized the creator turned out to be horrible, but the show itself, oh, it was just so much fun, and it ended too soon. And the cast, oh my goodness, Alan Tudyk, Nathan Fillion, Gina Torres, all of these folks who were young and went on have gone on to these fantastic careers. If set aside your feelings for the creator, who we're not going to name, folks, if you've not watched Firefly, do yourself a favor and do, because it's really, the show is about empowerment and sticking together and sticking it to the man, and we need to be doing that now more than ever.
That's a cult classic, I feel like. That's taken on a life of its own.
Yeah.
That's
And
good.
somehow
That's a
the
good
movie is
recommendation.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
That doesn't usually happen. If there's a movie after the show, it's usually like
Hmm.
kind of at least cheesy, but the
Hmm.
movie is like real good.
Yeah, they
It's
did a
called
good job with it.
Serenity. So,
Yes, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. How about you, Sarah?
I have a new podcast to add to the list. It's actually a limited series podcast called Deadly Engagement. It's from Josh Mankiewicz, who is a part of the Dateline team. Um, I was really, really hoping for a different outcome for the mystery, and I don't actually know if the jury got it right, but whatever. We'll see how appeals turn out, but I just find the storytelling so fascinating, and just like the ways that people betray each other. It's always food for thought for our wonderful mysteries. And we've got a couple comments here that we definitely want to catch up on. We have Donna McKenzie saying hello to everybody. Vicky Browning says, adding Full Moon Coffee Shop to the look for list. Thank you. Vicky also agrees that Firefly is the best, and they needed the movie to finish the story.
Yeah.
So that's that. We've got some Firefly love here this afternoon. Elizabeth, this was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much
Yes.
for coming back and chatting with us. It sounds like we will have more to talk about in the future. I definitely want to know once Clocks is out where Clocks came from, because I know a few people who really love clocks, and I just want to know if, like, is that like, are you that type of person? Are you a clock person?
Interesting question.
Yeah, so we'll have, that'll be our to be
That's our
determined, or
teaser. Yeah.
yeah, that's our to be
Yes,
continued of this conversation.
I like it.
But thank you so much for sharing a moment with us here today. We really, really appreciate you being here, folks. If you'd like to check out Elizabeth's work and everything that she does, you can go to justanotherelizabeth.com. You could also go to littlekeypress.com. And everything is there for newsletter signups, contact, all of that good stuff. And we will be back on Tuesday of next week, which I believe is the 29th of September, our final show of September. The month has gone by very, very quickly. We're going to be joined
Yes.
by Tina Caution, who is a friend of the Cozy Mystery community. We're going to be talking about her kebab kitchen mysteries and get super hungry before we all rush off to either go eat our lunches, go eat our dinners, eat a snack, whatever we need to get through after our conversation. So we appreciate our live audience members being here with us, as well as anybody who is watching after the fact. If you have comments for us, feel free to drop them on the video. And until next time, guys, stay bookish. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.
Bye.